Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off this video with a story that defines just desserts, or if we're being honest, a long overdue reality check for a father who prioritized the wrong child. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Dad used my inheritance to spoil my stepsister. Now he's paying the price. My mom passed away when I was 7. She was an only child, and her parents had passed away long before I was born. She left her estate to my dad, including money and an account for my future. My dad had a hard time dealing with her death and completely fell apart. I went to live with my aunt because he wasn't doing well. So in a sense, I lost both of my parents in one go. My dad visited me every so often, and after about 2 years, he came to get me. He'd met my stepmother and wanted to try and rebuild his family. I wish he hadn't. My stepmother wasn't a terrible person. She was actually pretty nice and didn't try to replace my mom. She was fair with me and her daughter, who was my age. But my dad, he overcompensated. He would give my stepsister anything to try and win her over. When we turned 16, he bought us a car to share, but she monopolized it, only letting me use it when her mom insisted. My dad would always tell me to just let her have it. Eventually, I gave up on it completely. I got scholarships and left the house as soon as I could. When I graduated from college, I approached my dad about getting the money my mom left me for a down payment on a house. He told me there was only about $5,000 left. This seemed strange to me. I'd been receiving an allowance from my dad while I was at school, which helped me focus on my studies without needing to work. It turns out he'd used the money to pay for my stepsister's college, give her an allowance, and even pay for the insurance on her car, which he also bought for her using that money. I was, and honestly still am, furious. I had him show me the account. There was actually just over $6,000 left in it. I took it all. I used it to get an apartment in town and never went back to his house. Since then, I've done well. I own my own home now, and I'm married to an amazing woman. We're building a great life together. Meanwhile, my stepsister has struggled. She was recently arrested for drunk driving again, and her trial is coming up. If she completes inpatient treatment for her alcoholism, she may get probation instead of jail time. My dad doesn't have money to help her. She doesn't either. So my dad came to me asking for help. I told him no. He said if I didn't help her, he'd have to mortgage my childhood home, so I told him he could have all the money my mom left for me. Now he's mad at me and says that I don't understand what he went through to get to where he is. I told him that neither he nor the kid he'd been sucking up to with my money were my problem. Your dad stole your money, and now he wants to guilt you into taking care of another mistake of his? Not saying he caused her leaning towards alcohol, but I'm also not saying it. This isn't your mess, and he's lucky you aren't coming for the money he stole too. I'm not sure how the account was set up or how he gained access to it, but either way, it was solely meant for you. And our second story. How I successfully sued my landlord for twice my security deposit. My husband and I rented a house in Southeast Portland for around 5 years without any issue. We were neither friends nor enemies with the landlord. It was strictly a business relationship. When the time came to move out, we notified the landlord in writing 30 days prior as the lease specified, had the house professionally cleaned, took photos of everything, turned over the keys, and that was that. Let me just say here that I wholeheartedly believed our $1,500 deposit would be returned to us in full. We'd been good tenants, and I had no reason to think that any portion of it would be withheld, so I waited patiently. I learned that per ORS 90.30013, a landlord has 31 days to either return the security deposit in full or in part, along with a written accounting for any portion retained to cover damages to the property, etc. After 31 days had come and gone with neither check nor accounting, I sent a text saying, "Hi, landlord. We haven't received our security deposit back. Can you let me know if it's been sent?" The response, "Hi, OP. We will not be returning your deposit as those funds were used to make repairs to the house during your tenancy." Well, I may not be a lawyer, but I was pretty sure that wasn't how security deposits work. It's true that the landlord had made repairs to the house at our request, replaced the toilet, for example, and a sink faucet, but none of them were issues that we had caused, and all of them were repairs a landlord would simply be expected to make as part of maintaining the property. And at no point did the landlord tell us our security deposit was going to be used to fund repairs. I didn't bother texting back. At that point, I knew where it was going, and I didn't want to waste any time arguing. I drafted a letter referencing the statute above and formally requesting the return of our full deposit, and sent it certified mail to the landlord, keeping copies of everything, including the text messages for my records. You won't be shocked to learn that the letter was never signed for and was returned to us undeliverable a few weeks later. So I followed up with an email, including a copy of the letter, the certified mail receipt and envelope, and once again formally requested the return of our deposit. By this time, I'd learned that ORS 90.316 allows a tenant to recover up to twice the amount of the original deposit if the landlord fails to either return the deposit or provide a written accounting within the 31-day time frame, but we would have to sue them. So I noted in my email that if they did not return our deposit, we would seek to recover twice that amount in small claims court. It's easy to write about in hindsight, but at the time I was nervous as hell and losing sleep, afraid we would be countersued into oblivion. I didn't want to go to court. I have pretty intense performance anxiety, and the thought of having to face them in court was giving me nightmares. I just wanted my deposit back. Sure enough, landlord responds with an email listing all the ways we had allegedly damaged the house, saying that the repairs cost far more than $1,500 and that they would be countersuing us for the additional costs. At that point, I was pretty tempted to just give up. We'd wisely taken photos of the entire house right before moving out, and I knew they didn't show anything beyond normal wear and tear. But I had no idea if the landlord could have staged something or had a contractor friend write up a crazy invoice for fake damages, and it didn't seem worth the risk. It'd be our word against theirs. Even so, and after sitting on it for a few days, I just couldn't stand to be bullied out of money that was rightfully ours, so I went online and filed a small claims case with the Multnomah County Circuit Court, and then I figured out, for the first time in my life, how to hire a process server to properly serve landlord the papers. Note that both filing a case and a process server cost money, but we were able to request both those fees as part of the suit. The total filing and serving costs were around $300. A couple of weeks passed, and every day I was terrified we'd be served papers of our own, but they never came. And eventually I received an email from landlord saying something to the effect of, "I see you have chosen to attempt to extort me for the maximum amount of money, and I am deeply disappointed. If this is truly how you wish to move forward, please let me know where to send the check." I responded with our address and nothing more. When the check for $3,300 showed up, I wrote a personal check to my husband for his half, and in the memo I wrote, "F landlord." If I have any advice to impart to someone experiencing a similar situation, it's this. 1, document and keep copies of everything, and 2, don't waste any time arguing. Don't get dragged into the weeds. The law around the return of security deposits is very clear. Frankly, our landlord could have kept our entire deposit. They just would have needed to send a written accounting within 31 days of our move-out. They were too lazy to get away with their own scam. If they don't send a written accounting within 31 days, it doesn't matter if you took a crap on the floor before you left, they can't keep a penny of your deposit. And lastly, don't give up. This was an incredibly stressful process that took months, during which time I was also recovering from a car accident. You have up to 1 year to file a case in the event that this happens to you. Be aware of your rights and don't let yourself be bullied. If I can provide any additional information, please let me know. The irony is, because of their greed and arrogance, they ended up paying more than if they just acted ethically in the first place. OP, well done. It definitely helps that you kept your cool, stuck to the facts, and didn't argue. A lot of people wouldn't have been able to do that. It's nice to hear when things turn out right. And our last story. HOA ruined my pool. Hey Reddit, this is the story of how I put the most unbearable HOA queen in history in her place. I'm Gary, the owner of a small car wash. I've been living in my house for 10 years, always enjoying life in my neighborhood. Everything was peaceful until a certain family moved in acting like they were royalty. The husband, a textbook beta male, but his wife? Oh man, Karen was a whole hurricane of bleached hair and permanent resting bee face. The first thing Karen decided was that our neighborhood was doomed without an HOA. With some unholy level of persistence, she convinced a bunch of neighbors to support her idea. Naturally, as a sane person, I refused to join this circus. Karen didn't like my refusal, so she declared war. First came the fines for a non-compliant fence, for the wrong shade of paint, for loud parties. Obviously, I tossed those straight in the trash, knowing they were complete BS. But Karen wasn't done. She escalated to absurdity. One day, I got a fine for excessive water usage. Seriously? I have my own well. The real nightmare started when Karen set her sights on my pool. This is ridiculous. Your kids and their friends treat this like a water park. And the barbecues? You're disturbing the entire neighborhood, she screeched. Karen, you live 3 houses down. You can't even hear it. Yeah, but I know it's happening. Get rid of the pool. Of course, I told her to take a hike, but Karen wasn't used to being ignored. One week, I went on vacation. When I came back, my pool was filled with gravel. I was beyond furious, but I knew I had to play it smart. I called the cops, but Karen weaseled her way out of trouble and even tried accusing me of illegal construction. She got away with it, for now. That's when I decided to beat her at her own game, bureaucracy. I hired a private investigator, and boy did he deliver. Turns out Karen wasn't paying her taxes, but that wasn't even the best part. A little deeper digging revealed she was embezzling money from the HOA. I sent everything to the IRS and the police, then sat back and enjoyed the show. A few months later, Karen was arrested. Her trial was quick, 8 years for fraud and tax evasion. Her house was seized, her husband filed for divorce, and her little empire collapsed like a house of cards. The HOA? After that, they stuck to keeping the streets clean and stopped harassing people. And me? I'm enjoying life, my brand new pool, and some damn good barbecue parties. Karen, hope you're loving your new community behind bars. Moral of the story, don't mess with Gary. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.